Welcome into Week 11 recap here on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, and I'm in a Broncos hangover. How about you? Let's talk about it after this.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to Footballguys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
Seems like forever ago because it was 12 hours ago, but the Commanders and Dolphins play in Madrid, and the Dolphins win 16-13 in overtime. Dolphins are 4-7, Commanders are 3-8, and they missed Jaden Daniels, but Chris Rodriguez leading the way on the ground with 15 carries, 79 yards. Deebo Samuel, 7 for 74 and a touchdown. Zach Ertz with 4 for 42. And then Marcus Mariota, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, but not enough to score more than 13 and to beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, and let me lead off. Hey, everybody. Happy Week 11. This was a rough week. You know, if you're in those leagues where you have like 2 wins, like 1 win for your matchup and 1 win for beating the average score, you may notice that the average score this week is a little lower than usual. And, there are only 2 teams on bye. This is where we separate the champions from the also-rans. We know both of these teams are also-rans. And sometimes, when 2 also-rans get together, it's just bad football. Sorry, Madrid. You get to live in Spain, so I guess not sorry.
Not sorry, yeah.
But, Miami's defense, not as good as they were against Buffalo in Week 10, but still not a pushover. Not necessarily a defense we're in a circle. Marcus Mariota, still going to give you adequate numbers as a quarterback too. And you wonder with the loss and then going into the bye, like, does the math change? I mean, Jaden Daniels got hurt on a meaningless play. Once you're not in playoff contention, they're kind of all meaningless. I don't know. That's not my decision. If you decided to play Chris Rodriguez this week, well, you got some decent production, but Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt still has his share of the backfield, like some share of the backfield, and it's not a great offense. You have Deebo Samuel. Now we'll see if Terry McLaurin's going to be back after the bye, but Deebo had mostly short games, a couple of long games. Jalen Lane got hurt. Washington, NFC Championship to picking in the top 12 or so of the draft.
And the Miami Dolphins, for who, for what? I mean, you're going to clean house anyway, right? You've already gotten rid of the GM. Mike McDaniel can't save his job, can he? We can go through, and Devon Achane still tearing it up, 120 yards on the ground. Ollie Gordon with the rushing touchdown. That's awesome. Jalen Waddle, 3 for 52. That's enough. By the way, Achane had 5 for 45 as a receiver as well. Love Malik Washington. Love him. 3 for 42. But it's like, again, Ricky Waters, for who, for what? Mike McDaniel can't save his job, can he?
I don't think so. I mean, I think at this point, it's just the ghost ship. And, well, Devon Achane is still the engine of that ghost ship. We saw Ollie Gordon. He scored the touchdown. Achane was still fantastic. It's been the one constant. However, Tua Tagovailoa only threw the ball 20 times. So Jalen Waddle, you're not too happy. He still averaged like 17 yards a catch, but only 3 catches. So we see the blueprint now. And Miami goes into their bye, and they're going to play on the other side of the bye the Saints and the Jets, or Jets and the Saints. I mean, these are games they're going to be competitive in, you would hope. And if they're competitive, they're not going to air it out. They're going to run the ball. That's what Mike McDaniel knows how to do. So, yeah, if you woke up late, you made the right choice.
You made the right choice, and you made the right choice. Carolina and Atlanta, some transitions are better than others. The Segway King, Cecil Lammey. Final in overtime, Panthers getting the win 30-27. Boy, Atlanta, you're going to make some changes. Unfortunately, that probably means my guy Zach Robinson. But anyway, Panthers are 6-5. Falcons are 3-7. Bryce Young goes 448 and 3 touchdowns. 2 of them to Teteroa McMillan, 8 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Legette, 4 for 83. And the touchdown. Rico Dowdle on the ground, 19 for 45. But 5 for 55 as a receiver to help benefit his fantasy day. Chuba Hubbard is, you probably shut him down already, but we know what this is. It's a Dowdle backfield. It's Bryce Young doing his thing. And don't give up on young quarterbacks, because Bryce Young, all right, not going to do this every week, but nice that he did it this week.
Yes, he's, going into today, I remember saying something like, remember when Bryce Young was going to be the franchise quarterback and then wasn't going to be the franchise quarterback and then was going to be the franchise quarterback. And now this year it seems like, nope, he's not going to be the franchise quarterback. And Bryce Young said, wait, there is another chapter. And what a chapter it was. I mean, in some ways, this game was like a microcosm of his career. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, there were times, and a great first drive, including a fourth down on the first drive, conversion to Leggett, and McMillan with a touchdown, and a real nice play where he just zinged it in there, and McMillan did the rest. McMillan looks fantastic in this game, by the way. And, you know, it's amazing what of McMillan's abilities can be harnessed when Bryce Young's playing like this. But it took Bryce Young getting hurt. Billy Bowman, the rookie, comes in on a safety blitz. And, you know, a safety blitz, that's like, oh, like chest to chest. Oh, you thought, well, this is one of those moments where Bryce Young, I mean, this is our question, right? Physically, he's not that imposing. You know, here we go. And we're wondering, like, is this going to be the mark that's like, okay, he got hurt in this game. Panthers go down the drain. And, you know, we saw the Panthers as a team mentioned in connection with Kyler Murray, right? No, Bryce Young says no, just like he did last year. And you might write off last year. It was week 12 last year. So we're at that same point in the season. But this team is different. This team is 5-5, now 6-5, half a game out of first place. And even after he comes back in, he leads a field goal drive before the break, before the halftime. He comes out, touchdown drive, Coker and Leggett getting involved. After the break, it's 21-16. We're back, right? No. Bryce Young tries to scramble for a fourth down, can't make it. That's not his game. Then there's another, that was after they got a muffed punt, right? A gift. Then they had to settle for a field goal, almost got the go-ahead touchdown. A.J. Terrell made an incredible play to break it up. Then they're driving again, and Bryce Young gets a fourth down. He falls down. He just no one stepped on his foot, nothing. He just fell down on a fourth down. Oh, boy. You know, this is how it's going to go out. No, the story is not over yet. He leads a drive with Rico Dowdle, who didn't do much on the ground. A beautiful tie rip, almost seemed like he scored the go-ahead touchdown, stepped out at the 10. And then Young finishes it to go ahead in regulation with an extended play to McMillan, but he's not done yet. Actually, Tommy Tremble's not done yet as he rumbles for a 54-yard catch to get the win. And now they're a half game out of first place. They're going to San Francisco. They still played Tampa twice. They control their the Panthers control their destiny. Bryce Young, and see, we say this term in sports a lot, he controls his destiny. I mean, he today took control of his destiny for today, and he was dead in the water for fantasy. This offense was, even Rico Dowdle was flatlining. If it wasn't for a roughing the passer penalty on interception, Rico Dowdle would have been a bust last week. That's how he got his touchdown. It just goes to show how emotional this game can be. And again, McMillan, I mean, he looked just magnificent. And there was one play, I think it was the field goal drive, Cease, where McMillan was able to reach up and snatch the ball, and it did not even by like 0.05% break his stride. You know, I mean, it is a highly, highly skilled, highly talented player. And now we get to see what he can do. We get to see what Carolina does next week against San Francisco. And like you said, for Atlanta, not great when you traded away your first round pick and you got 3 wins. Not great.
Not great when Penix and Kirk Cousins both play. Bijan Robinson is great. He's absolutely outstanding. Tyler Algier would do in a pinch and then some, but it's Bijan Robinson with 23 carries, 104 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Robinson also 4 for 39 as a receiver. Drake London 7 for 119 in this contest. Not much else for anybody else. Tyler Algier did have a rushing touchdown. If you had him in as a touchdown dependent, what the heck flex, then he paid off.
And this game looked like it was going to be a blowout win for Atlanta because this was the Bijan Robinson revenge week after revenge on behalf of his fantasy players. And I'm sorry that I went on with that long run-on sentence, but that just encapsulates the ups and downs. For Atlanta, it was just up and then down. You know, they get touchdowns from Bijan Robinson. He's dominating. Drake London is dominating, making big plays. Bijan gets the first 2 touchdowns, and then London sets up an Algier touchdown in the first half. They're cruising. And then the second half, Penix gets hurt. And remember, that was one of the questions, you know, his injury history, his build. Speaking of quarterbacks, we look at their build and you say, how is he going to hold up? It leaves with a knee injury. And we've already seen this year that Kirk Cousins is in, like, it's late December in his career, at least in terms of him being a quarterback that has something to offer, you know?
Right.
I mean, at this point, I would say that the other backup quarterback, Andy Dalton, probably has more to offer. So you see all the air go out of the balloon. Now, Cousins does lead a field goal drive to tie up the game after Young takes the lead. They go to overtime. and it's just, this offense. Oh, by the way, Drake London got hurt on the last drive too. So
Ugh.
if it wasn't bad enough. So Atlanta next week has to play New Orleans. Oh boy, they're going to be happy to get the Falcons on a down note. And again, just another result, just like the first Carolina-Atlanta result, that keeps us guessing.
Okay, keeping us guessing and keeping us loving James Cook. James Cook, you're amazing. James Cook, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Because we go into this next game. We thought it would be a good one, and it was a scorcher. Buffalo Bills win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 44-32 is the final score. Bucks are 6-4. Bills are 7-3. Let's talk Tampa and baby Baker, the baby maker. 173 yards, one up, one down. Sterling Shepard, 4 for 54. Also, what was that, like a fourth down play? Fourth down play late in the game when he tries to fit it into Shepard. I'm like, this is when you miss Chris Godwin. This is when you miss Mike Evans. Because in those moments, and Emeka Egbuka getting a ton of defensive attention for good reason, you don't go to Sterling Shepard with the game on the line. Sorry to Sterling Shepard, but they did, and it didn't. Hey, you'll be shocked. It didn't work. Emeka Egbuka, 5 for 40. All right. Sean Tucker's day. 19, 106, 2 rushing touchdowns. Sean Tucker, 2 for 34, and a receiving touchdown. Rachaad White, 10 for 51, so still not a bad day. By the way, Baker had a rushing touchdown here as well. I'll get to James Cook man love in just a little bit, but we got to talk about Tampa. And, of course, Sean Tucker, if you had him in as a what-the-heck flex, man alive, that's a big payoff.
Yes, and I will get to that. Because as a Syracuse grad class 97, I'm going to enjoy my victory lap on that one. This was a wind game. There were a lot of wind games today. The games with at least 15-mile-an-hour wind. The Giants and Green Bay was one, not as bad. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati was one, not as bad. Baltimore, Cleveland was not great. And this one was supposed to be the worst because I guess there's an effect, the way that Buffalo's stadium is just exposed, that it causes a swirling wind, right? And actually, the wind did affect the passing games, especially Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield still had a decent fantasy day because he's running again. He hadn't run the ball since week 6 because of that knee injury, oblique injury, inaccuracy. That looked better last week. Now the knee's better. He got the rushing touchdown. He scrambled. And then we saw Sean Tucker take this game over. And if there's a takeaway here again, I don't know how many times we've mentioned it. It was down here in New Orleans last year as an undrafted rookie. Sean Tucker had 192 total yards on 17 touches and 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. And you just can't do that. I mean, I know you say Jerome Harrison or Jonas Gray or whatever, but
Jonas Gray, nice pull.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but
you can't do that without talent,
right? Well, and the thing was, this was a game where. What you saw, sometimes running backs have contact balance. Like James Cook has incredible contact balance. Sean Tucker's burst was so overwhelming that they just couldn't get a clean hit on him. It wasn't contact balance. It was like there's nothing to hit because his burst was so impressive in this game. And even when Bucky Irving is back, maybe next week, you cannot put that back in the bottle. So Tucker running for touchdowns, receiving touchdown, but then you also saw a play that the route combo took the coverage man right into the path of the pass, even though it wasn't going to his guy. So that was a bad interception for Baker Mayfield, kind of on the offense. And then you saw once Josh Allen got going that Baker Mayfield just can't match. I mean, we'll talk about this, Cease. There is such a thing as a cold weather quarterback. Like you've lived a good part of your life in that region where Josh Allen played his college football. And if you can play in Wyoming, then you can play in Buffalo. And Baker Mayfield can play in the cold. He wasn't overwhelmed by it, but he's not Josh Allen.
And the wind. And I will say this as someone who grew up in our I was born in Cheyenne. I went to high school in Colorado because our house was inside the state line. So we had property. Our mailbox was in Colorado. Our house was in Wyoming. That tells you everything about where I grew up. But I will say this, as growing up in my house on the Wyoming side of the border, again, we had property in Colorado. Obviously, our mailbox was in Colorado. So our phone number was in Wyoming. I noticed the days it wasn't windy growing up. You'd walk outside and it's wind every day. It's Wyoming. But you would walk outside and there wouldn't be wind and you'd be like, what's going on with this calmness? So Hell yeah, Josh Allen could play in the wind. No problem there. And, well, how did Josh Allen play? How did James Cook? I love him so much. Josh Allen, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, couple of picks. And then we got Tyrell Shavers, 4 for 90 and a touch. We talk about him on the waiver wire. Ty Johnson with 2 catches, 61 yards and a touch, also a carry for 9 yards. Josh Allen, 3 rushing touchdowns. I believe the only quarterback in NFL history with 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns multiple times in a single game.
Right.
Yeah, it's Josh Allen. But James Cook, 16 for 48. You're going, wait, why has Lammey got this man love for James Cook? 3 for 66 and a receiving touchdown. Here's the thing. At the end of the game, and we can talk about how they shook up. The Gabe Davis is playing and Keon Coleman or whatever. We can definitely talk about that, Bloom. But the thing with James Cook, you knew they were closing out. You knew they had to pick up first downs. You knew they were going to keep it on the ground, and you could not stop James Cook finding the weirdest angles to just kind of eke his way to move those chains. That's why it's such a joy to watch every week, just like Josh Allen.
Yeah, and this game, as they're talking about the chat room, what's up, chat room? What's up, Michael Vidal? I love you. We love all of you in the chat room. Allen had an interception that looked like Blake Bortles, or pick your favorite bad quarterback. And he was even in his own end, and he just kind of like did some little chest pass like it was basketball or something.
What?
It was terrible. And it set up it set up Tampa, and you're like, oh, here we go, you know. And he had another interception. He had another almost interception. And then who actually got it going? And he did have a fumble later on, but McCole Hardman, who got hurt in this game, McCole Hardman makes a return, and then Gabe Davis converts a 4th down. And Allen gets a literal tush push. You can watch the play, like literally pushed his tush in. I can't remember who was behind him. And then this is where Josh Allen steps up, right? Because the wind is bad. And the touchdown to Shavers was about a 45 to 50-yard touchdown. And it was to the pylon, you know. It was a long throw in the air, not just the yardage. And he just looked like it was just a nice day with a breeze and 70 degrees outside, the way he threw that ball. He doesn't care. Like, he really doesn't care. How else did these things happen? And then they had another interception still in the first half. 2 interceptions. You picked Josh Allen off twice in the first half, and he scored 44 points. I mean, how do you? And like you said, he's going into this week. Keon Coleman benched. Gabe Davis is back. Like, Dalton Kincaid is out. Like, we're, you know,
oh my
Tampa
God,
has a tough run defense. Tampa has a tough. I was on Buffalo radio talking to Mike Shope and the Bulldog, and saying, like, you know, their fastballs, their running game, and Tampa can stop the run, and it's going to be windy. And Josh Allen just said, I don't care. And Ty Johnson said, I don't care, on a swing pass he took to the house from 52 yards. And then, you know, again, a fumble punt by Hardman. They overcome that, and they get some more return. Ray Davis had a good return. And then how does he get a 3rd touchdown pass? Somehow Anthony Nelson, a defensive end, ended up matched up on James Cook in a route. So that was that you know, you knew how that was going to be a touchdown. So and then like you said, like, okay, got the 3 touchdowns. One of his rushing touchdowns was after a Tampa turnover, return or something like that, like a short field. And then Baker's doing his thing, man. I mean, Baker gets them up like 32-31 or 32-30.
That was the Sean Tucker play, right?
Right. And all Josh Allen does is leads 2 80-plus yard drives and finishes them with touchdown passes. And I mean, touchdown runs. That's it. Just you need 2 80-yard touchdown drives. We got that. We got that. So, you know, just when you think, ooh, Buffalo's offense, you know, how are you going to go deep? You know, what offense? You know, what did it not having Keon Coleman out? Ooh, they blew the Keon Coleman. It doesn't matter. When Josh Allen plays like this, it doesn't matter. And don't ever laugh again at the idea of, oh, they play in cold weather, so they want a big strapping guy with a giant arm who's, you know, mobile and just, you know, a one-man wrecking. That actually mattered in this game. Now, Buffalo probably not going to have home games in January, so we'll see. But this is the kind of game that makes them feel like, as long as we've got him, we can beat anybody.
We are good to go. Now, some games are like this, Bloom, so I apologize. I didn't watch a damn second of Texans and Titans.
No.
Doesn't look like I missed much, so I'm going to throw both of them to you. It's 16-13. Texans get the win with Davis Mills, by the way. The Texans are 5-5. AFC playoff picture. Are the Chiefs not going to make the playoffs? I mean, I want to
Ooh.
get there. I want to get there.
Spoiler alert.
16-13, Titans 1-9. Titans just need so much, but I'm going to toss them both to you, Bloom. And we apologize to Texans and Titans fans.
Sure.
This wasn't an interesting game.
Yeah, but even Texans and Titans fans would say, well, our teams aren't that interesting for fantasy right now. Houston.
We know we're good. We're good.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not good, but we know.
Right. Davis Mills actually had a really good first drive, spread it around. They missed a field goal, and then Jeffrey Simmons got a penalty, like pushing the snapper. And then, hey, Woody Marks got that 1st and goal carry, and then a couple of moments that Christian Kirk almost scored. And then on 4th down, it's Davis Mills, so he was sacked on 4th and goal. Then they had another good drive stall out because of the stack. But then Davis Mills kind of got under control by throwing to Nico Collins. Of course. I mean, why would you do anything else? And Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins is coming on here. We'll talk about him on the waiver wire show. And again, Woody Marks got a carry at the 1. And again, Woody Marks did not convert that. This game, not the most impressive. It wasn't like Davis Mills' 4th quarter. It was not an impressive offensive game, but he did put together the field goal drive. And even though Woody Marks didn't do much for fantasy after he scored twice and got over 100 total yards in the first matchup, just know that it could have been a 2-touchdown game. Going up against Buffalo, by the way, on Thursday, Davis Mills are 5-5, and we're probably not going to see CJ Stroud. So we'll see. Season's still alive at 5-5. Calvin Ridley goes down on the first play. Calvin Ridley misses time with a hamstring, breaks fibula, first play, season over. Kimray Dike left with, first it was a concussion, then it was a chest contusion. Alec Aomanor hamstring. Meanwhile, Cam Ward's doing stuff like completing 6 passes to 6 different receivers on a field goal drive. Notice I said field goal drive. I mean, yes, he did throw a touchdown late to Van Jefferson, still fighting, tying it up. And you hear players for the Titans say, like, they've got something. Like, he's going to be something. He just doesn't have anything right now. And in some ways, that can be what's planting the seeds for that resilience. And they have the number 1 pick right now, so that can help. But it's not going to help next week when they have to face Seattle.
We've got 4 games down. We have 8 games to go, and we're going to wrap with the Broncos game. Spoiler alert, that's going to be fun. We love you guys, and we appreciate everyone out there for listening to the Audible. 20 years of the Audible, and we thank you so very much. Watching here on YouTube, however you enjoy, on Twitter, whatever, and then listening via Spotify or Apple Music, whatever you take in your podcast. We just thank you. Thank you a lot. We're happy to be here for you and happy to talk about football. And thank you for being my friend, Sigmund. Let's talk Bears and Vikings in this one. And this one didn't go quite the way it could have gone. We'll get into the reasons why in just a little bit, but it's a Bears win, 19-17, the final score. The Bears are 7-3. The Bears are 7-3. Minnesota is 4-6. We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's talk about Caleb. 193 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. It's Cole Kmet with 5 for 45. It's Roma Dunze with 2 for 41. Colston Loveland, 3 for 40. Why couldn't he just get what Kmet was going to? Anyway, Luther Burden, 3 for 27. DJ Moore doesn't do anything. DeAndre Swift, 21 for 90. Sounds about right. But Kyle Monangai, 12 for 23 and a touchdown. Okay. Caleb, by the way, had 26 yards on the ground there as well. Looks like Monangai had 1 catch for 14 yards to benefit his fantasy day. And it may not be the prettiest, but this team knows how to win. And by the way, running the hell out of the ball, 39 carries compared to 32 passes.
Right. And that's what they want to do. And see, if we were back in August and I said, when you and I are doing the week 11 recap, we're going to be talking about the 7-3 Bears. You would say, oh, Caleb Williams must be killing it, right? It's working, right?
Yeah. Ben Johnson, Caleb.
No. I mean, Minnesota's defense is good. Okay. They're back. 2-3 and outs to open. Caleb misses DJ Moore. Then they have a really good drive, one of those matriculate the ball down the field. And Odunze almost had a touchdown. Sorry. If you have Odunze, there's an almost touchdown. And Monangai gets Swift gets them down inside the 5. Monangai with just blasting somebody. Josh Metellus just blasted right through him. Like he wasn't even there at the goal line for the touchdown. So he may keep that goal line job, although Swift is still the lead back. Didn't catch a ball on this one, which kind of hurt. They did get an interception of J.J. McCarthy. More on that. They got a field goal off of that. And then Swift, they handed it over to Swift because, again, Caleb is just – so you have 2 things going on quickly on the passing game. Number 1, Caleb is inconsistent. Number 2, 6 different guys had 3 targets. Durham Smythe had 3 targets in this game. Okay. So it's going to be really hard if you have a team that wants to run the ball with a good enough defense that they're not going to fall behind big, with a quarterback who's inconsistent, and then they're going to spread it around. So it's going to be tough. Like if you give me questions about DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, because they're great players, but how does the fantasy value come? So Swift runs hard. They get in position for Cairo Santos to put them up 9. He misses the field goal. And okay, well, they're still up 16-10, right? They get the ball back. 4th and 5 from the Minnesota 43, not from their 43, from the Minnesota 43. Ben Johnson's from the Dan. Go, you take it, you seize it. No, you try to draw them off sides and then you punt. And then it took Caleb. Well, no, Caleb actually didn't do anything. They got a return from Devin Duvernay after the spoiler alert, go ahead touchdown. This one almost was history, like lightning striking twice in the same place. But Devin Duvernay said no, and Cairo Santos got a chance for redemption. So 7-3, Chicago. Steelers in first place next week playing Chicago. I don't know if any of these teams are any good, Cecil.
Yeah, we'll wait and see on that. I don't know if JJ McCarthy's good because he hasn't been good to this point.
And that's 5 games.
Yeah, it's a small handful of games, but that's also part of the problem.
Right.
He's got to stay healthy. And all right, let's get into it. JJ with 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. Not great, Bob. Justin Jefferson, 5 for 61. Again, why isn't he? If you're throwing it 32 times, why aren't 15 of those passes going to Justin Jefferson? Anyway, TJ Hawkinson, 3 for 39. Jordan Addison, 2 for 20 in the receiving touchdown. Aaron Jones, 16 for 70, but it's Jordan Mason with the rushing touchdown, 45 yards there. So, all right, Minnesota, they're still trying to figure things out, but This isn't the feel-good story they were a year ago.
No, or even in week 1, right? When McCarthy had a terrible first 3 quarters and then in the 4th quarter came back to win. But it wasn't all on JJ. Early on, I mean, you see why Kevin O'Connell's excited, Thor Nystrom. You see why they're excited. There was a play when he stepped up in the pocket real quickly, loaded up the ball. It should have been a walk-in touchdown for Jordan Addison. He just didn't catch it. Almost like he wasn't ready for that inspired of a throw. Justin Jefferson did get going early. And then there's a play where McCarthy was hit as he was thrown. Interception, By the way, it was a target intended for Justin Jefferson. I'm being technical here, but that's 3 out of the 4 interceptions the last 2 weeks. The other one was a deep ball to Jordan Addison that was looked like it was going to be a touchdown that was in the air. Nashawn Wright, who I think played for John Beam. Just a terrible story. Last chance.
Yeah.
Just terrible.
CJ Anderson played for Coach Beam as well.
Yeah.
At Laney College.
Just rest in peace, man. I mean, I don't even know. We're still sorting out like what happened. And you could see he was overwhelmed. And let's remember the human side of this, because I'm sure Nashawn Wright probably feels like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. Now he's not here. So a bad play for JJ McCarthy, but I want to take a timeout to remember Coach Beam. And then you start seeing Jefferson's not happy. The classic, here we go, slamming his helmet down on the sidelines. Because McCarthy was off on some of the throws to Jefferson. He was off, he was let down on some drops, and he was off on some throws. And you could just see like his process is just fast. He's just thinking and acting fast. He's not overwhelmed. He's not scared. He just needs a beta blocker, something, And
what he needs is some of that Colorado weed.
Sure. The Maui Wowie, sorry, Joe. And then here we go. They get a punt return, and Jordan Mason runs in a touchdown. Jordan Mason started getting going in the 4th quarter, and then they get the ball back because Ben Johnson doesn't trust Caleb Williams on 4th and 5, and McCarthy delivers on 4th down with a blitz bearing down on him, and then later on hits Jordan Addison for the go-ahead touchdown. It's not enough. How do we feel? We feel like this is a work in progress, and it's going to be a test of Kevin O'Connell to keep all these personalities satisfied, placated, calm, as this season is not headed anywhere. But you need JJ McCarthy to get those reps. You need things to slow down. You need that confidence, kind of like what's happening with Jordan Love the first year he was the starter. You need that, and it's going to be a challenge for Kevin O'Connell, and it is going to be a challenge because that's where he's going next week at Green Bay. So JJ McCarthy, good luck.
Well, because JJ meditates, I will say this, Bloom, and it's sage wisdom from an old man. To get to it, you got to go through it.
Yeah.
And guess what JJ's doing right now? He's going through it. Guess what the Packers are doing? They're winning over the Giants. 27-20 is the final score. Giants are 2-9, Pack 6-3-1, 8 ties. Jordan Love, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Malik Willis with a touchdown here as well. Emmanuel Wilson with 1 rushing touchdown. Both him and Josh Jacobs had 40 yards on the ground. 128-yard total by this team on the ground, by the way. Romeo Dobbs, 4 for 53. It was Christian Watson, 4 for 46, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Not much else from anyone else. Josh Wiley had the other touchdown, by the way, but still, like, you found a way to travel and get it done. And let's talk Pack.
Yeah, see, and we're probably going to go over an hour today. I mean, just because it was that kind of day in the NFL. Because I want to give it a little treatment here too. You know, we talked about Bryce Young and the struggle and the overcoming that he had. Jordan Love had the same kind of day. And, you know, Jordan Love needs to give a nod to Malik Willis and to Jameis Winston, especially to Jameis Winston. And see, we should all be like Jameis Winston with our fantasy football teams.
Yes.
It's like, I don't care what the record is. I get to play this weekend. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to be into it. I'm going to get my guys fired up. Like it's the
I believe
national
Mark Ingram said he did a pregame speech, and Jameis is a national treasure, by the way. But Jameis did a pregame speech one time, and Ingram said it started with a prayer and ended with Jameis singing the Monday Night Football theme.
Yeah. I mean, and you saw, you know, Jordan Love comes out in this one and he takes a hit on his non-throwing shoulder and leaves the game. And Malik Willis comes in, and Malik Willis looks good. And let me tell you, Malik Willis looks dialed in. This isn't, you don't think of him as a first rounder like Mac Jones and Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Same story. He's in the right organization. He's with the right coach. He's in the right system. I applaud whatever team pays him next year. Don't give me Justin Fields. Don't give me Kyler Murray. Let me try Malik Willis. We'll see. Because he looks very comfortable and under control. And then, Jordan Love's like, hey, that shoulder's feeling better. Let me get back out there. You know?
I'm good.
Josh Jacobs is not good. Josh Jacobs actually finished that drive with Willis, left with a knee injury. So we'll see. They're saying we don't think it's season ending. More testing. Emmanuel Wilson looks solid, by the way, gets a touchdown, catches a 2-point conversion. Dobbs has some ups and downs, some drops here. Chest injury coming into the week. They were working on it. So I don't know if that's part of the reason that he had the drops. But you had Christian Watson catching the touchdown from Willis. And then you had Jordan Love starting to take some daring throws and making those throws. Big one to Savion Williams. And then the game winner was after Jameis Winston had brought the Giants back into the lead in the fourth quarter, a throw over double coverage to Christian Watson for Watson's second touchdown. And Love has to feel some confidence now. I mean, this is what the kind of game this isn't Dallas, okay? This isn't Washington. This isn't Cincinnati. This is a game I think that he can feel really good about in terms of his performance, willing his team to a win when Josh Jacobs was out. And again, showdown with Minnesota next week.
Let's look at Jameis Winston. 201 yards, no touchdowns, 1 INT. Was Isaiah Hodgins with 5 for 57. Tyrone Tracy, 4 for 51 as a receiver. And then Tyrone also had 19 for 88 on the ground. Devin Singletary gets 2 rushing touchdowns, 44 yards. Jameis gets a rushing touchdown here as well. Theo Johnson, 3 for 36. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 for 36. So again, not much there in the passing game, but they tried to win on the ground, and hell, it almost worked.
Yeah, it did. And Winston, just so spirited, the energy, easy first drive. Isaiah Hodgins, welcome back to the Giants, making plays. That's why Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson weren't great plays. Theo Johnson did draw pass interference in the end zone, but Devin Singletary finished those drives. Devin Singletary actually could have scored 3 touchdowns, had a chance to score 3, scored 2. So if you threw him as a what the heck flex, see, that's what the heck flex is all about. Devin Singletary, 2 touchdowns. Because Tyrone Tracy's actually if there is a lead back, I mean, he's running so hard. You know, Tyrone Tracy, bless his soul, he's running like a guy that's like, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose the chance to play football on Sundays. He's running with extra energy, even though this team isn't going anywhere. Maybe it's a Jameis Winston effect, although he was doing it last week too. The problem was, you know, Micah Parsons sacking Jameis Winston on 4th down. The game's probably over. No, Jameis Winston gets another chance. And by the way, the Giants were able to sustain long drives against this Packers offense. So that's part of the reason that Jordan Love had to be making those big plays. And they were, even after the touchdown to Watson, Winston drove them all the way down to the goal line, Cease. Not the goal line, but, the red zone. If I told you that Jalen Hyatt quit on a route, would you be surprised?
Yeah.
And Jameis Winston, it was almost there. If that was Malik Neighbors, that could be something else. But hey, if Jackson Dart needs another week, watching Jameis play football is a joy. And for fantasy, we have to take note. It was Devin Singletary this week. Who could it be next week against Detroit? And you're cruising to a high pick. And maybe that's how you get someone to take the head coach job if Joe Shane is still the GM. You get a top 5 pick, you get Jackson Dart, you got Abdul Clark, got Malik Neighbors. Because otherwise, I would feel great about the offseason for them if they just had a new GM.
Feeling great about the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Unk Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals. It is the Steelers getting the win in a big way. 34-12 is the final score. Flacco goes 199, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. T. Higgins goes 3 for 63 and a touch. Noah Fant 5 for 36. Jamar Chase 3 for 30 on 10 targets. Whew. Chase Brown, 18 for 99, almost to 100, 6 for 28, so over 100 all purpose. And, well, the Bengals like a turtle on their back.
Yeah, this was a weird game in so much, we saw a wind game between two pretty good quarterbacks up in Buffalo go 44-32. This was a wind game too. And the first 2 drives were easy touchdowns. Oh, here we go. What would the late Mike Lang say? Get in the fast lane, Grandma. The bingo game was about to begin. And then there were 6 straight punts. So the first touchdown was a pretty easy one to T. Higgins. You have Jack Sawyer. How does this keep happening? Why is Jack Sawyer trying to cover in a zone T. Higgins? That's how you get a touchdown. You thought, here we go. But no, actually, it was Chase Brown made most of the good plays for this Bengals offense. He had a 100-yard game against the Steelers first time around, which the Bengals won 33-31. And this one almost had 100 yards and caught 6 passes because Samaje Perine was out. So this is the kind of game we thought we were going to get from Chase Brown in fantasy. So at least we're getting that. And then it was the Steelers and the Bengals, so there had to be a fight. And Jamar Chase only caught 16 passes in the first game. 3 he caught in this one. Gets in a fight with Jalen Ramsey, who gets thrown out for throwing a punch. But Jalen Ramsey says, he spit at me. And you might say, well, you have to just learn. No. In the NFL, if there's video evidence, and I think there's video evidence.
There's always video evidence.
Jamar Chase, I believe, and we'll update this. I think he might be suspended for week 12. So insult to injury, insult to a fantasy dud there. And now there's no margin of error. But unlike Washington Cease, you might say, well, do we really want to put... No, they're going to put Joe Burrow out there. It doesn't matter. We're going to see Joe Burrow in a couple of weeks, but we'll at least enjoy Joe Flacco against New England next week.
Pittsburgh Steelers had to use a couple of quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers had a touchdown before Mason Rudolph. They had a touchdown there as well for Rudolph, 127, 116, respectively, if you play in team quarterback leagues, which are still a thing. Kenneth Gainwell, the leading receiver, 7 for 81 and 2 touchdowns, both of them from each quarterback. Darnell Washington is huge. It's huge.
What took so long?
He's just throwing guys around. It's awesome. DK Metcalf, he's big as well, 5 for 49 in this one. By the way, Darnell Washington had 4 for 67, if I didn't say that already. Jalen Warren, 10 for 62 on the ground. So, I don't know. What am I thinking of here, Bloom? When I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the way that they do it, right? It's kind of like Dolly Parton. Not that way. Get your mind out of the gutter. It's like the coat of many colors. You know what I mean? Which her mother made for her. And it was a bunch of patches of a bunch of rags from the house, but it like worked and it kept her warm and she loved it. Coat of Many Colors is true story, Bloom. If that song comes on, I will cry. Mm-hmm. As growing up poor, like real poor. I remember talking to Derek Wolf one time and we were talking about being poor. And Wolf's like, oh, I was poor. I was like, you ever steal food to eat poor? Because that's the kind of poor I was. And not proud of that, not promoting that, but just like poor. So Coat of Many Colors. Pulls at my heartstrings. The Steelers pull at your heartstrings too.
Yeah, and see, we'll talk about not really your Broncos, the Broncos that you cover. Like sometimes you really do just stitch together the quilt, and the next thing you know, you have a beautiful, you win the state fair for the quilt you made, right? So, and the Steelers are doing that. First drive easy. Rodgers to Gainwell, great day for. By the way, this is where like nobody cares about it. I dropped Kenneth. I have held him all year. There are 2 running backs I've tried to hold all year. Cease Kenneth Gainwell, but you know who the other one is? Sean Tucker.
RJ Harvey.
And Sean Tucker.
Sean
So
Tucker.
it worked out.
So you have a Syracuse bias.
Absolutely.
The Syracuse guy has a Syracuse bias.
It's
I'm
just
shocked.
more like there are so few Syracuse guys that
Is Syracuse a cult in the media? Like I want these answers.
I mean, it's not a cult.
You guys are everywhere. You guys are everywhere.
It's really weird. There was this mass consciousness moment because we all wanted to be sports talkers. All of us kids that grew up like in the 70s and 80s, we all wanted to be sports talkers. And everybody knew that Marv Albert and Bob Costas and Sean McDonough and Mike Tirico, like everyone knew that Syracuse was Sportscaster U. So the broadcast journalism program, which I lasted a year and a half in, by the way, in school. So, and they tell you in broadcast journalism at Newhouse, you really got me going now, Cease, because I told you we're going over an hour. So let's stretch out.
Oh, yeah, let's stretch it out, baby.
And they tell you like,
not wearing underwear. Let's go.
No way. 7 people got rejected for every one of you that's here and stuff like that, So, I mean, and I don't want to say anything more, but I knew broadcast journalism wasn't for me. And by the way, this was like, I started college in 93. So you were working to get a $19,000 a year job in Fargo, North Dakota that you worked at for 10 years. So hopefully you would get upgraded to like Spokane, Washington. And then maybe 15 years and you might get a chance for the job you actually wanted if it wasn't already like taken by a lifer who was just going to have it until they were in their 90s or, nepotism or favoritism or any number of things. No, thank you. So anyway, getting back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, you saw Darnell Washington. Again, why aren't you using this guy more? Because
he's so huge,
and he's mean and he's athletic and he's also a great blocker. He's not a novelty.
Right.
He's kind of like it's kind of like if you put Vernon Davis, you took like that unbelievable interstellar athleticism and you just tamped it down to like just one of the most remarkable athletes at his size and put him under a magnifying glass. And that's kind of what you have with him. Anyway, Cincinnati defensive penalties helped the Steelers get a field goal. Washington threw one of the best stiff arms of the season, by the way. And then Jaylen Warren leaves with a hurt ankle. So Jaylen Warren was running well. I think he came back in for a little bit and then left. Caleb Johnson got in. Caleb Johnson, he finally has a good run and he grabs the face mask of the defender and gets flagged. I mean, this is the kind of year it's been for Caleb Johnson. But for Kenneth Gainwell, it's like one-handed catch, making guys miss, scoring another touchdown. So Kenneth Gainwell has had 2 good fantasy games, and they've both been week winners. There's no reason anybody would have had him in. Also, the Steelers along the way, Kyle Duggar gets a pick 6. Thank you, Patriots, for that late round swap. And then another fumble recovery touchdown. So 2 defensive touchdowns. If you thought, Joe Flacco might be turning back into a pumpkin, kind of. Kenneth Gainwell and Darnell Washington leading the Steelers' offense. Aaron Rodgers hits a broken wrist. So we'll see. But Mason Rudolph looked fine. I mean, is there that much of a difference at this point? Because
wasn't there talk about benching Rodgers anyway for Mason or Will Howard's back, like something?
Well, Mason Rudolph looks comfortable in the offense. And let's face it, he's not the same quarterback he was when the Steelers had to throw him in before he was ready.
Sure.
We had to dodge Myles Garrett's helmet, He's a seasoned veteran now, and he can run an Arthur Smith offense. You saw it today. And again, Steelers, Bears, fascinating game next week.
I think it was his helmet.
Oh, he picked up his helmet.
Didn't Garrett? Because I mean, Mason Rudolph's dead. If that
as a Steelers fan, I have to pretend that I don't remember that. Because if Steelers fans hear what I think about that, then I'm not going to get the little the secret knock to change the secret knock to the clubhouse piece. I'm not going to be allowed in anymore.
Right. You're no longer in the 33rd degree of Steelers Nation. Anyway, let's get to, oh God. Jaguars 35, Chargers 6. What? Jacksonville 6-4, Chargers are 7-4. And I mean, fraudulent. Again, without the tackles, like there's so much to get to with the Chargers, Bloom. And we've seen them without Joe Alt before, and they look terrible. Guess what they look like today? Terrible. I'm not even going to go over this box score for the Chargers, dude. Do the Chargers thing, and I'll get to the Jaguars at least. But like, all of these stats are awful.
Yeah,
terrible.
dog poop. Scrape it off your shoe. Yeah, sweet Virginia. Yeah. So, you know, Kamani Vidal gets them into field goal range, has a few little runs. They get a field goal. They have another potential scoring drive. Josh Hines Allen with a sack. Let's recognize him. Breaks Tony Brackens. Remember Tony Brackens? That takes you back to the expansion days, right? Tony Brackens was the all-time Jags sack leader until Josh Hines Allen got Justin Herbert. They got an interception. You know, hey, it's a Jags game. Trevor Lawrence threw bad interception. Only got a field goal off of it. And then in the whole third quarter, they had the ball once for a punt because they couldn't stop the Jags running game. Spoiler alert. Then after he took a big hit, Justin Herbert floats one over Lad McConkey. You float it over the middle, it's going to get picked, and it got picked. And at that point, I think the Chargers said, let's just get him out because, again, earlier this year when Joe Alt was out, they were starting to put the stats up of how many hits Justin Herbert has taken compared to Andrew Luck at this point in his career and things like that. And it felt like that in this game. So we'll see. The Chargers go into their bye at least, and mathematically they're still fine, but hopefully Marion Hampton will be back. Hopefully, you go back to the drawing board with Greg Rome. It's something, because this is a game that looked like the Chargers were the worst team. They were worse than the Shadur Sanders Browns. Cease. That's saying something.
That's pretty bad. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, 153, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Jacoby Myers, 5 for 64. Johnny Munt, 2 for 25. It's Tim Patrick, Timmy Pats, 3 for 20, and the lone receiving touchdown. Parker Washington, 2 for 20. Oh, sometimes what the heck flexes are Parker Washington, and sometimes they're,
Devin Singletary.
Devin Singletary. There you go. By the way, can we admit something we've never admitted before on this show? The genesis of what the heck flex was, I give up.
Yeah. What the heck?
Fantasy football is so much luck, so much skill. It's so hot right now. But fantasy football is so much like Sir Smoke-A-Lot. God, if you're listening, help. Right? That's what it is. So let's be honest. What the heck flex? Sometimes your prayers are answered. And sometimes, to quote Garth Brooks, I thank God for unanswered prayers. Parker Washington didn't answer your prayers. Bashal Tootin, maybe. 15 for 74 and a touch. Travis Etienne, 19 for 73. 2 of them things. And Jacksonville feeling good. That's so much bad news for Jacksonville recently. Get some good news on Sunday.
Yeah, and they are kind of where the Vikings are in the sense of we're setting up for future years. So anything they get out of this year is gravy. And
gravy.
It was good gravy today. Certainly, well, because how many games you got to go back to the Panthers game, where the week 1, where you see Trevor Lawrence made some mistakes. Yeah, things didn't go as well as they could have. They're all smiling and happy and slapping each other on the back because it was just that kind of game for Jacksonville. First drive, Trevor Lawrence on a 4th down, just here we go, Trevor Lawrence, 4th down stop. Second drive, Parker Washington draws a pass interference. Bashal Tootin. See, there's another universe where we're gushing about Bashal Tootin during this take. But unfortunately, that's not how the story ended for him today. So Bashal Tootin looks great. Physical wonder. So much burst, contact balance. Gets the touchdown. But then Lawrence gets picked again. For a while, this looked like a game of futility. Then Bashal Tootin started taking over, running chunk gains. They go to Travis Etienne on a direct snap touchdown to finish that drive. The running game is getting going. Again, going back to the opener, the win over Carolina. Trevor Lawrence comes out in the second half, looks better, calm down, like Liam Cohen said, hey, man, let's, and you saw Tim Patrick draw a pass interference in the end zone. Trevor Lawrence gets a touchdown after that. And then you saw the Trevor Lawrence and Jacoby Myers connection, right? And it's is it good or bad that Lawrence looked the best throwing to Jacoby Myers? Because he's only been with the team for 2 weeks. But yet there it is. This is how, and Jacoby Myers was okay. You saw in this game otherwise, though, and if Brian Thomas is going to be back next week, and again, this is kind of like Chicago. I mean, if the quarterback's inconsistent and you're throwing the ball to 5 or 6 different guys and you want to run the ball, then yeah. And they were set up to have, honestly, a better combo than Swift and Monangai until Bashal Tootin got hurt. And know this, when Bashal Tootin got hurt, he had 15 carries to, I think, 12 for Etienne. ETN got the next 6 or 7 after that, and ETN could have had a third touchdown, by the way. Didn't get it. It was Lawrence got that one, but he got the second touchdown on a really nice dive for the pylon touchdown. And, good run game, good defense. Just don't make too many mistakes, Trevor Lawrence, and this team can win. Probably do it again against the Cardinals next week.
We've got 8 games down. We have 4 games to go. Here it is, the Audible. It's 20 years of this thing, so we appreciate you all. I didn't have as much gray hair 20 years ago, Bloom, in our young salad days.
I wasn't even wearing a bucket hat at the beginning of the show. I didn't even own one.
There's a picture on my toolbox that I had at the machine shop before I did football full time, and it's got you, me, and Liam out by the elementary school. Yeah. I was doing some yard work today, and I was gonna take a picture of that and send it to you, but I'll do that anyway. But anyway, been doing this a long time, so we appreciate everyone out there for jumping on board with Footballguys.com, our free daily newsletter here on the Audible. We've got our multiple YouTube channels. Football Guys, we're here for you. Seattle and LA Rams. Now, maybe people wanted more fireworks. 21-19 the final score. The Rams win. They're 8-2. Seattle is 7-3. Some good football. Now, I was watching some good football in Denver, so I'm going to look forward to watching this one on the rewatch on the coach's film. But Sam Darnold, 279 yards, 4 picks. Is that a typo? JSN, 9 for 105. AJ Barner, 10 for 70. Kenneth Walker, 16 for 67 and a rushing touchdown. Also 3 for 44 as a receiver. Rashid Shaheed, new guys over in the corner, puking his guts out. 2 for 27. Cooper Kupp, 3 for 23. Nobody plays him, or at least you shouldn't. Maybe you had Zach Zarg, Zach Charbonnet.
Somebody reboot Cecil.
What was the name of the villain on Fifth Element? Wasn't it Zorg?
I
think it was Zorg.
Emperor Zurg.
So
That's
good.
Toy Story.
Yeah. And of course, now my brain's going to be messed up. I'm going to look that up while you tell us about the Seahawks side.
Yeah. And see, we talked about this in the preview, because usually when these teams get together, it can be a defensive struggle. But both of these offenses were looking so good coming into this game. You thought this is going to be a shootout. Nope. It was not a defensive struggle per se, but it was a defensive game. And how do you know defensive game? Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions and Seattle almost won. I mean, that's the good thing, right? Because you could think of a different context or say, oh, here we go. Sam Darnold, the team's going to give up on. No. I mean, it's just what happens. Give credit to the ball hawks of that Rams secondary. And then they were settling for field goals. Their first 4 scores were field goals. And when you kick 4 field goals against Matthew Stafford and the Rams and Sean McVay, you're probably not going to win. But you did see in the second half, the offense got going a little more. Kenneth Walker, which there should always be more Kenneth Walker. No disrespect to Zach Charbonnet, but you just see he's so combative. And then on the touchdown, they were down 21-12. Kenneth Walker gets a touchdown, in part because they just had like the 2-minute drill offense in, and that's Walker. And Walker looking so good on his receptions after the catch, and then he's on the field as the goal line back, and he scores. And the defense, here's what's key. 2 of the interceptions Darnold threw, touchdowns for the Rams followed. But 2 of them, they didn't follow. One, they got a stop, a punt, and then they got a turnover. So the defense is going to pick them up and kept them in the game. And the defense made another stop. And Darnold actually drove the team down to get a 61-yard attempt from Jason Myers. Wasn't enough. In addition to JSN doing his thing, AJ Barner had 10 catches in this game, and he's the tush-push short yardage back for them, which they did try not at the goal line. But so just know, hey, AJ Barner, we'll talk about him on the waiver wire show. And yeah, this was a loss for Seattle, but it was in LA, and they hung in even though everything went wrong for Sam Darnold. So let's just see if this team does better in the second matchup. Week 16, by the way. Maybe we'll see a third matchup of these teams.
And our chat room came through in a big way, and they're saying it was Zorg because I had just recently came across, really appreciate Gary Oldman.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best.
Range.
One of the best.
Yeah.
in Hollywood, and so I watched like a Gary Oldman like interview when he's
Mhm.
talking about his movies, and I love The Fifth Element. I think it's fantastic. It's poking fun at science fiction while also putting together a hell of a science fiction movie.
Mhm.
But Gary Oldman and Zorg, man, like that. There was all Gary Oldman in anything. Gary Oldman in anything. Yeah, I'm thinking of all his parts, like
Drexel. I mean, I always think automatically. I think of Drexel and True Romance. I mean, that's
True Romance. Gary Oldman is like. I
Yeah,
guess
that's
maybe when I retire, Bloom, that's what
Mhm.
I'll be like that.
I'm thinking more. I'll be like Eric Stoltz in Pulp Fiction, but that's we all have our dreams. But in this game, I'll hand it back to you, Cease, the Rams almost woke up from a game that seemed like a dream early on.
Yeah, it seemed like a dream. And by the way, those jerseys are sweet.
Mhm.
Matthew Stafford, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Puka Nacua, 7 for 75. The next leading receiver is Tyler Higbee with 1 catch for 23 yards. But Colby Parkinson had 14 yards and a receiving touchdown. Devontae Adams, 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. There you go. Jordan Whittington, 1 for 9. Kyron Williams, 12 for 91 and a touch. And again, Rams at home. Take advantage, man.
Yeah. And if you thought, well, Matthew Stafford can throw 4 touchdown passes, 5 touchdown passes against some of these minor league defenses, but what about Seattle? Yeah, you were right. Seattle's defense is good. Seattle's defense is really good. And again, week 16, I was putting together the preliminary list for upgrades and downgrades. I mean, I have to have Stafford as a downgrade just because he's going to face this team again in week 16 in Seattle, by the way. But you saw early on, right away, they get stopped inside the 10. Stafford takes them down, and Seattle says, stops them on 4th down with pressure on Stafford. Then they were trying to they drive down again, and it's Blake Corum. They're trying to get him the touchdown. Can't do it. Kyron Williams says, give me the ball on 4th down. I'll do it. He gets the touchdown. Kyron Williams, by the way, outstanding in this game. Kyron Williams looks so good. Kyron Williams has actually turned, he's truly proving the doubters wrong. I think Aaron Donald said, the 2 best things are proving the doubters wrong and winning the Super Bowl. Well, he's proving the doubters wrong. We'll see about the Super Bowl this year. You did see him get the run down to the 1. Devontae Adams got a touchdown, but again, that's it. That's all he had. It was his 1,000th catch, the 17th player in NFL history. DeAndre Hopkins will be next, by the way. And Kyron Williams with with Matthew Stafford. Actually, Darnold was much more productive and effective through the air. It was just Darnold's mistakes were big. Stafford didn't make mistakes. And eventually you saw Puka Nacua get going. You also saw him get a first down on a carry late when they're trying to salt the game away. But again, Seattle's defense still gives Sam Darnold a chance. And they miss the 61-yard field goal. So, again, this is a game at the end of it. For fantasy, we'll take notes for week 16. But otherwise, these are 2 really good teams. And next week, the Rams are going to play another really good team, and Tampa Bay comes to town.
All right, 49ers and Cardinals. The return of Brock Purdy leads to a 41-22 win. Cardinals 3-7. 49ers is 7-4. Purdy goes 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. 2 of them going to George Kittle, 6 for 67 and 2. 1 to Christian McCaffrey, 5 for 40 and a receiving touchdown. Christian also had 13 for 81 and 2 rushing touchdowns. Juwan Jennings, 4 for 54. And that's about it. But it was good to see Purdy back out there.
Yeah. Here's the story for Brock Purdy. And this is a guy that still is trying to get respect, right? Because Mac Jones looks good. And that's not to take anything away from Mac Jones or Kyle Shanahan or the synergy there. But when Mac Jones was playing pretty well while Purdy was out, you have a lot of people, see, you give Mr. Irrelevant that money. I mean, how different can it be? Oh, it was different. It was different. This was just so much more confident San Francisco offense. And Arizona, what happened to their defense? I don't know. I mean, Arizona's kind of swirling down the drain, but it wasn't even the offense. Sky Moore. Hey, how about Sky Moore with the very rare 98-yard play that's not a touchdown, tackled at the 1 on the kickoff return. Christian McCaffrey says, I'll take that. And then Purdy to Kittle. This is one of the most efficient. See, we don't have the Lovecraft connection, but we do have Purdy Kittle Purdy, Purdy Vittles. And 2 touchdowns in this one. Everything just looked smooth. Everything looked like comfortable for this offense now. And even though Ricky Pearsall didn't do anything, Brandon Ayuk will be back. But again, Cease, this is another team. They found ways to win. It wasn't always pretty, but they're in a good spot in the standings. Now they have their quarterback. They're going to get everybody healthy, hopefully, knock on wood. What a division. What a division this one's going to be, except for Arizona.
Yeah, that's true. But Trey McBride's awesome. 10 for 115 and a receiving touchdown. Greg Dortch, 6 for 66. Devil get out and a receiving touchdown. Michael Wilson. We need to talk about him more. Right. We talked about him on the waiver wire show on one of my favorite players from the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago. There's your drink. 15 for 185. They didn't run the ball, so I'm not even going to go over it. 452 for Jacoby. 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. 452. Wow.
Yeah. A tied NFL record, actually, with 47 completions. But we saw Jacoby Brissett kind of revive his career with those games where he looked good in games where he was competitive, even beat Dallas. These last 2 games, he's put up numbers in garbage time, just pure garbage time. Arizona's been so bad that he's playing against prevent defenses for like a whole half. But hey, Bam Knight's touchdown early on wasn't against prevent defense. And, Chad Ryland had a missed field goal. Brissett did have an overthrow interception. The game got away from Arizona really quickly in this one. So it was just a 7-on-7 drill. It was just practice. And that's why, if you talk about what the heck flexes, Cease, Michael Wilson in PPR league is like the what the heck flex of all what the heck flexes this week. I think very close to Sean Tucker. They're close. Elijah Higgins, you like seeing him get more fumble at the goal line. Oh, man. So, maybe they could have tightened it up and made it a little bit of sweat for them. But no. And again, Wilson, McBride, Greg Dortch, 6 for 66, I think, right? The double get out line.
Yep.
And again, and for Arizona, what do you do now, Cease? You play out the season. The Kyler Murray era is over. The Jonathan Gannon era, he was supposed to make at least the defense good. Is that where is this team? What is this team? Well, one that Jacoby Brissett's going to put up some numbers with in garbage time.
Is it the coach or is it the quarterback or is it both?
Mm-hmm.
How about the Baltimore Ravens beating the Cleveland Browns, but closer than you wanted? 23-16, the final score. Browns are 2-8, Ravens 5-5. Lamar Jackson with a couple of picks, 193 yards. Zay Flowers 3 for 78. Mark Andrews 3 for 32 as a receiver, but fake tush push, everybody, 35 yards and a rushing touchdown for Mark Andrews. Derrick Henry with 18 for 103 and a rushing touchdown there as well. And not much else did anybody do anything else for this team, but they got the dub. They're 5-5, and I personally believe that they can be dangerous if they squeak into the wild card.
Yeah, they can be dangerous. But, the Ravens are supposed to be in a Super Bowl window, not just an upstart who could surprise somebody on the road. And, all due respect to Lamar Jackson. We love Lamar Jackson here at the Audible. We love him. Best player on the field this game was Myles Garrett. You just feel 4 sacks in this one. And see, if you can go back to Lamar Jackson in his rookie year, whenever Greg Roman, they were really trying to not put too much on his plate. And sometimes you could see he had too much on his plate. Well, he's not ready for that yet. It's just really hard for him to do quarterback things. That's how Myles Garrett made him look in this game. That's how Myles Garrett blowing everything up. 4 sacks, and then it was a wind game. And they had, LaJohn Wester muffed a punt. At least they held him to a field goal. Keaton Mitchell had a drop, turned into a Devin Bush interception touchdown right after Myles Garrett's sack, where it seemed like Lamar Jackson was a little shook up. Not shook up physically, but then Derrick Henry scores after a Zay Flowers long catch and run. Then they drive it down again, and there's another deflection. Carson Schlesinger. They were just, nothing was going to come easy for Lamar Jackson in this game. Finally, Derrick Henry breaks a run, his longest run of the year, about 50 yards. And then the tush push fake touchdown, which, hey, we're getting to that second chapter of tush push. No, it's not the tush push, it's the tush push. But then I'm going to turn around and hey, Mac Andrews still has some speed. Actually, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Mac Andrews, you got some jets actually. So that's something. Cleveland's defense is good. Someone told me in that first game because I was like, ooh, the Ravens, got those touchdowns on Cleveland after all these other teams looked poor on offense. But I guess it was Denzel Ward, and Denzel Ward's actually the one that ran down Derrick Henry. Denzel Ward went out in that game. That's part of why. And there was a win game too. So that helped Cleveland a little bit. But Baltimore eked this one out, which isn't how it's supposed to be against Cleveland. Hopefully it won't be like that next week against the Jets.
What is Cleveland going to do in the future? Because they don't have a coach, a quarterback. And by the way, if I'm a potential coach, let's say I'm Vance Joseph, right? Where is VJ at? We still have a VJ thing in here. Or do we? Oh, dang it. I'm going to upload the VJ thing. But God, if you listening, help.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the Browns need. But if you're a hot coaching candidate and Cleveland's like, hey, you want a job? I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, it's fine. Don't need you. Anyway, let's talk about the Browns if we have.
Well, and again, it was the defense. It was the defense that made this a game where the fans actually got excited. And then they got excited when Dylan Gabriel left the game with a concussion. I remember even the announcers were like, well, does the fans know that he left? They probably don't know he left with a concussion, right? Because, Shedeur Sanders, no. No. Devin Knotts, our colleague, brilliant Devin Knotts, comes in just to say, Shedeur Sanders is not. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he'll never amount to anything, but I mean, no, he felt bad for the Cleveland fans, we're going to see Shedeur. No. Can we get someone to play Wildcat quarterback maybe? Quinton Judkins was getting on track early. I don't know why he didn't get more carries in this one. Baltimore's run defense has been sometimes suspect, and otherwise, I mean, just this is where you're at, Cleveland, and like you said, Cease, I don't know. I mean, we have someone like Myles Garrett, and you're just stuck at the bottom of the league. I don't know how you change that.
Yeah. Our buddy Devin Knotts, one of the best out there, says Shedeur is ass. Joe. And sorry, Joe, for that. And we're always going to reference Half Baked. And, well, pretty soon we'll be getting there as soon as the show wraps up. But to do that, fully, I believe him, yo. I don't know why, but I do. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I will not belabor it. We've been going over an hour, and my ass hurts. Does that sound bad?
Tux medicated wipes, clearly.
Something. I've been sitting doing a post-game show, watching the Broncos game, and doing this show. I love you guys, but my tailbone hurts. Maybe I need a better
coccyx.
Yes,
I don't know.
Coccyx.
It's some sort of evolutionary remnant.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yes, I'm gonna have to get a different office chair or just sit on a cushion. Anyway, let's get to this damn thing. It is the Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my goodness, in the Mile High City. Kansas City was desperate. You could tell how desperate they are. They got the Colts up next, by the way. The Broncos win 22-19. Blocked extra point from Frank Crum, Wyoming Cowboys, baby. Broncos are 9-2. Chiefs are 5-5, and they only have a 7% chance of winning the AFC West. And with the way the rest of the AFC is going, the Chiefs might not make the playoffs.
Okay, they're ninth right now. They're ninth
right now. Mahomes 276, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Kelsey 9 for 91 and a touchdown. All right. Tyquan Thornton 1 for 61, a big one. Hollywood Brown 4 for 40. Rashee Rice 6 for 38. Rice's best plays were drawing PIs against Riley Moss. Kareem Hunt gets a rushing touchdown, but he's 13 for 59. They don't use Brashard Smith a couple times as a receiver, but okay, no Pacheco. And just that Vance Joseph defense, man, locking them down. And now the Chiefs, you thought they were desperate today, which they were. Whew. What about the rest of the year, including next week against the Colts?
Yeah, that's the thing. Teams like Buffalo riding the ship, This is the opposite of that for the Chiefs. And we started out over the 20 years. We started out with, do you remember when Cecil was drunk on the show? Remember when Cecil didn't wear his shirt? Now, like, you remember when Cecil told everyone he needs to have a hemorrhoid cushion or something? But that's where we are. That's
It's
where
not
we are.
hemorrhoid cushion.
That's just me.
It's
That's
sitting
me.
forever.
I'm the one with hemorrhoids,
Oh.
or not. Maybe not a hemorrhoid. I don't know. My mom said it was an abscess when I get stressed. But stress. This one started out as a battle of field goals. This one started out as a defensive struggle also. And the history, 3 games against the Sean Payton Broncos coming into this one. The scores of those games were 16-14, 18-9, and 24-9. And the 24-9 game, the Denver actually won. So you knew that Sean Payton, he's not scared of Patrick Mahomes. Ooh, Percy Rice. I'm not scared. Should have been scared of Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was actually the guy who played above his head in this game. Travis Kelce was the guy that was actually turning that stress into plays. And like you said, they drew some pass interferences. And Tyquan Thornton, you think maybe they should be taking the deep shots to Tyquan Thornton instead of Xavier Worthy at this point? Maybe. Because Tyquan Thornton can play. I mean, as far as that vertical element, and that was one of those plays where if Casey doesn't make that play, the game's starting to slip away. But that's Patrick Mahomes, right? And as you're watching this game, you get that sinking feeling, Patrick Mahomes is going to figure out a way, I mean, I say this as somebody that I grew up, those quarterbacks, Joe Montana, were just inevitable. As a football fan, unless that's your team, you don't want it. You want it to be evitable, and some of it is because, like you said, Roshy Rice not really making impactful plays. Xavier Worthy not really making impactful plays. Yeah, Kareem Hunt got a touchdown, and he's running hard. He's getting whatever he has left.
Sure.
But now all of a sudden, Buffalo humbled this offense going into their bye, and Denver once again humbled this offense, and now they have to play Indianapolis, who's rested. Meanwhile, the Broncos go into their bye saying exactly the way we drew it up.
Saying that it's the ring finger, not the middle finger.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's what they're saying. They're saying that to the doubters and the naysayers, and that's what Bo Nix is saying. Coming back now, 2 games, he was below average, well below average. Bo Nix comes back with 24 for 37, 295 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs, only sacked a couple of times. Troy Franklin, 4 for 84. When it was clutch, it counted. He's still going to drop passes. This is what you're going to get with Troy Franklin. Their leading target getter on the season, tied with Cortland Sutton today. 8 targets for Franklin, 8 targets for Sutton, 4 for 59. Clutch plays from Sutton. Pat Bryant, future number 1 receiver, probably in 2027. 5 for 82 for Pat Bryant. Evan Ingram, 4 for 33. They need to figure out the ground game. RJ Harvey's not the answer. Jaleel McLaughlin had a rushing touchdown. Happy for Jaleel. For sure. Tyler Baday's out there on passing downs. When people asked me, what's this Broncos thing? When J.K. Dobbins was announced on injured reserve, it was like, what's the Broncos ground game going to be? And I said, well, it's going to be more Jaleel than fantasy GMs want because they want RJ Harvey. But Harvey will have to be taken off the field because he only has, not including this game, Bloom, he only has 4 snaps of pass protection this year. They've done a good job of hiding RJ Harvey because they don't think he's good at pass pro. Or shall I say they think Tyler Bidet is better? Is that more apropos? But either way, they're 9-2. But during the bye, you've got to pick up Jeff Wilson, go grab Gus Edwards, like something. You've got to figure out something because J.K. Dobbins is out the rest of the year. He can come back for the Super Bowl. And oh my God, if the Broncos are in the Super Bowl, I will be even less tolerable than I am right now.
And that's not very, no, it's so tolerable. I'm sorry, it was too easy. What a fascinating game because Denver's offense was pretty good early. And then they run like 7 plays in the red zone or, goal to go, or, they were right in there settling for field goals. We talked about this with Seattle, right? Like that's not going to win a divisional tilt, and it's funny how this game had a similar script to other games that they've won this year, but it felt different because it was the Chiefs,
Right.
It was profound. It wasn't just, well, you escaped in this game. And again, you saw that John McLaughlin. You saw the Jaleel McLaughlin TD. You're like, oh, here we go. It's Sean Payton, and not just that. There's a very good reason for it. And then you had a Pat Bryant breakout game. And Cecil, you brought up Pat Bryant like a few weeks ago as a 0.5% guy. And hey, if you have Pat Bryant making plays and Troy Franklin making plays, and of course Cortland Sutton, and notice on plays when like Bo Nix needed a play, well, like if we got to get this play,
Sutton.
that's when you go to Cortland Sutton, except the last one. And Franklin did a really nice NFL push off. And the fact what was Franklin coming out, he's like 6'2", 180, not a great BMI. But if he was AJ Brown making that same push off, maybe it would get flagged. But he's kind of a string bean. So when he does that push off, it doesn't look egregious, but it was perfect. It was just perfect. And there, you have seen Bo Nix putting the ball up and trusting his college teammate to just make the play. And he did. And it was the play whenever you felt it ripple through the stadium. Oh, we're going to actually do this. It's not going to be like last year in KC when Will Lutz's field goal got blocked. Things are different now. And that's the thing. The Bo Nix only plays well in the fourth quarter. No. Bo Nix is going to win the game for us in the fourth quarter, even if it's our nemesis, even if it's a game that's going to really sting and maybe change our season if we lose it. So it's just, that's the theme, Cease. Maybe it's just life, right? Like just keep swimming, just keep yourself in it, and then you'll have a chance. You'll have a chance to rise to that occasion, rise to that big moment. It just continues to be captivating. But again, bringing it all back around to fantasy football, the scores are getting lower as the weather gets colder and windier, and it means the big time impact guys are that much more valuable. And then every now and then you get a Michael Wilson or a Sean Tucker.
Even more reason you need to run the ball if you're Denver, because the weather turns and playoff football is about playing great defense. Check. And then running the ball. Oh God, they can't do that. Anyway. Yeah.
That's
I might
Sunday.
stand the rest of the show.
Yeah.
That's a Sunday for this show. And I did this on the Orange and Blue Today post-game show. I will do it here as well, with some extended, I don't want to get too specific and I don't want people to panic, but with some extended family health issues, and let's just say F cancer, it's nice to have this audience. It's nice to have your friendship bloom and how good you make me feel doing these shows. Good day, bad day, whatever. If I'm talking to Sig, I'm happy. And having this audience makes me happy. We all need those distractions. And as David Foster Wallace said, and this is water, everyone's going through stuff we have no idea of what they're going through at the time when we interact with them. So to have this community that we've built with the Audible over 20 years, to have this friendship that we've built for 20 years, how many people are friends for 20 years? You know what I mean? Like consistently. And I have one, Big E, and I have two, you, for 20 years.
Yeah.
So we appreciate everyone out there. And again, if you want to say a prayer for my family, that's awesome. Just got some health stuff with extended family that sucks. And it sucks when time's up for people that you love and care, and maybe you didn't tell them enough. You know what I mean? So tell them every day.
Yeah. And Cease, we say this, we can never say it enough, because I always think of old Bukowski. He always had a girlfriend, not very good looking. That's an understatement. And they'd ask him, why do you always have a girlfriend? He said, well, because they know I'm going to be here. And people might say that about us. And I think for any aspiring content creators or whatever you're doing out there, that's first. We're in a relationship. First, you got to show up. First, you got to be there. You got to be consistent. You got to be reliable, right? And you might think that I'm talking about, well, y'all keep coming to the show because we're always here. No. I mean it the other way. We show up because you're here. We're feeding off of you, and this is a mutual relationship, and those are the best ones, right? Like you the man, no you the man, no you the man. Those are the moments when the light really shines, and you all give us the opportunity, the invitation to do that every week, and I just hope it helps y'all as much as it helps us.
He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on all the socials at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show's at the Audible. We're saying thanks, everyone. 20 years. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?